Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to our January 26th meeting of council. It is 5 p.m. and I would like to call this meeting to order. I have no awareness of any changes to the agenda. So may I have a motion and a seconder for someone to approve the agenda as circulated? Moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? I understand.
Yes.
And and Chantel, you're online, right?
I am. I'm just
Okay.
gonna stay off video because I'm just on my phone, so I'm flipping back and forth through screens.
Okay, that's great then. Thank you.
Would you like me to verbalize my vote, or do you want me to raise my hand?
I'll try to look for your hand.
Okay,
But if there's a wrinkle, I may ask you to just say your vote.
sounds good.
Okay, thanks. All right. So at this point, then, any disclosure of pecuniary interest amongst the members of council? Okay, I'm seeing none. Any announcements? I don't have anything that the members of council might want to announce. There again, nothing? Okay, so we'll move on to presentations and delegations, and we're happy to welcome Inspector Barnaby. And did I say that right? No, tell me how. Barnaby? Okay. I'm just not used to it spelled this way, I guess. So, and you are also the interim detachment commander for Middlesex County OPP. So just go right ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Appreciate the invite to speak with everybody today. I do believe the report was shared with the group. I'm going to go over the report with my speaking notes, but of course, you're welcome to. I'm welcome here to entertain any questions particular to the actual reports. But I would just summarize the statistics from the report pertaining to Thames Center. Some positive trends. Violent crime was down by 27.4% compared to 2024 stats. Property crime did rise slightly by 10%, still lower than our 2023 statistics. We can get over at the end of this. I'll have some action items for us as a detachment, as a police service, and some proposed partnerships with the municipality as well. Our clearance rates have improved by 34%, which is always a great thing to see, especially in violent crime area. And mental health occurrences have reduced from 67 versus 86 compared to 2024. Some areas of concern, and I have written here as a totality, provincial statutes declined by 7.7%. However, I will highlight that provincial statutes incorporates Mental Health Act, Liquor License Act, the Highway Traffic Act, and I'll demonstrate later on that our enforcement when it comes to Highway Traffic Act is actually on the rise, specifically in this area. Victim services acceptance rates is an area of concern that we are consistently working on. They're reduced by at 27% right now, falling from 35%. We do have some strategies, but we are really at the exposure of the victim themselves and whether they do accept the supports. Our referrals have dramatically increased, but the acceptance rate seems to be hovering around that 30%, and that's a common theme across the county. Fatal collisions have remained stable, and speeding and impairment still remain the primary causes of any fatalities in the area. With respects to the violent crime, I did mention that there has been a 27% decrease in the area. I will note, though, that sexual assaults have increased in the area to about We had 5 in 2024 specific to Thames Center, and we're at 9 in 2025. Assaults and firearms. Related to assaults and firearms, as the OPP categorizes them, are all part of a violent crime aspect. So they bunch all those together. So this statistic doesn't mean that every incident involved a firearm. It just means that there is definitely an assault involved. We did see a decrease by 36% in that in those incidents from 30 to 19. And we did have one robbery, which was founded in this area last year. Despite overall, the rise in sexual offenses requires some attention, which again, we are certainly part of that conversation, but not just, it's more of a holistic approach. Community education, partnerships with schools, which we will get into some of the proactive measures that we've taken, and victim support capacities are things that are on our agenda for 2026. Property crimes, we did see a increase by 10%. Theft unders and frauds have increased dramatically across the province. So much so that we have designated a specific member to deal with frauds under 5,000. So we have our major crime unit that would deal with any serious frauds. But now we have a specific member designated to deal with these type of frauds and investigate them in a professional way. Theft under 5,000 rose by 16%. This is something that we need the community to assist us with. We can't be with finite resources. We can't be everywhere at one time. And some of these strategies will that the community may be able to support us is advocating for CCTV cameras within the community that will dramatically assist us in being able to find and hold those accountable for these type of thefts. Traffic safety and collisions. We did see a 48% increase in 2025 within patrol hours in this Thames Center. So we had 4,633 hours designated to Thames Center compared to 3,119 in 2024. And motor vehicle collisions, we did see a decrease. I would like to say that there is a correlation between the presence that we've shown and demonstrated here and the collisions. Also the drastic increase in enforcement measures that we've taken here in Thames Center. Speeding as a result of one fatality, collision cause was a causal factor. We did have one incident related to impairment or drugs, and we had one incident that was involved. The primary collision was as a result of injury because of no seatbelt. As far as traffic enforcement, we've seen a 12% increase from our 2024 numbers. We laid 2,005 tickets, provincial enforcement tickets, Highway Traffic Act tickets, compared to 2024, 1,790 tickets. We've seen a gradual increase in enforcement. And for the most part, the research will always show that enforcement leads to greater public safety as opposed to warnings. We did see a decrease slightly in warnings. We had a -6% decrease in warnings, but an increase in enforcement. We do feel that that's part of our role within society, is to educate, but at the same time, understanding that enforcement does mean reduced fatalities and reduced people who are impaired, and we're monitoring for those type of things based on our presence. Okay. Mental health occurrences. As mentioned before, we did see a decrease in this area by 22%. That's a fantastic thing based on a whole bunch of different community that has to do with us, but also partnerships that we have with the communities, MCERT, CMHA, everyone is pulling their weight and ensuring that those that require supports do receive it. In 2025, we did have one overdose based on opioids, an opioid, and that is the same statistic that we had in 2024 based in Thames Center. Our referrals, we did go up in referrals dramatically when it comes to victim services. In 2025, we offered 274 referrals for victims, and 77% 77 of them accepted, which results in a 27% acceptance rate. This is always something that we're looking to increase. It would be perfect if we could have 100% of the people that we refer receive reports or supports. However, it is a very complex situation with those, and a lot of the people that we're offering supports are involved in IPV or related incidents, and they're just not ready to receive those type of supports yet. Some action items, not just for the OPP, but members of Thames Center and council to consider. As mentioned, CCT programs within the community. That is something that certainly we can assist the municipality in beginning. However, it would certainly assist us in combating thefts and frauds within the area, especially if those people are doing these type of things in person. It provides us an extra tool to be able to canvass and utilize the community in order to bring people to account and hold them accountable. Unlike what the popular belief is about CCT, it's not a big brother thinking that they can just see everything at any time. We don't have access to those type of cameras. It would be at the permission of the owner, and we would have to have just cause in order to review that type of footage as well. Sexual assaults and violence, sexual assault violent response. We've received a grant from the provincial government to increase our MCERT. So with that, we are looking at CMHA to hire 2 additional members that will be riding around with our officers and supporting our MCERT program, which is fantastic. So that'll increase our ability to have frontline response with a professional from CMHA to support our members and those victims. And our domestic abuse coordinator, who is extremely busy, it's a busy position, does a fantastic job in coordinating with victim services within the area. And we do have a victim specialist assigned to Middlesex Detachment that is more so utilized in conjunction with victim services, but when charges are laid, they help that person or the family throughout that process. So they have someone that understands the process and helps that person through it. Traffic enforcement, working with the municipality and the traffic team here to ensure proper signage and education is being continuously coordinated, and the use of automated speed information systems within the municipality. If you are having that information calculated, that it is shared with us, so that way we can put that within our analytics and decide how to utilize our resources. Some goals that we have identified for ourselves for 2026 is continue the reduction in property crimes. So our street crimes unit does fantastic work, and we work collaboratively with provincial units that are OPP, that are a benefit of having them within localized areas. They do much larger scaled investigations, and our street crime does the local investigations, and they're doing some excellent work within our communities, not just in property crimes, but in ensuring that drugs are taken off the streets as well. Stabilizing violent crime. This is something that we're always working towards, supporting public safety measures. Unfortunately, a lot of the times our response to this is reactive. And we're constantly working with school systems and our municipal partners to educate and reduce that violence within our communities. Road safety measures, I think we've seen some excellent progress over the last few years. Traffic enforcement has gone up and our presence in the community has gone up as well, which is fantastic. The community wellness is something that is a partnership, not just a police service responsibility, but that certainly is a partnership. And we have great partnerships with victim services within the area. As mentioned, we do have a victim specialist attached to our detachment as well. And we're constantly looking for ways to support, even looking at the analytics of when to have touch points with victims involved in violent crimes against persons, and to better situate ourselves so they understand the supports and what it means for them and their families. And that would be my summary notes for the report, and subject to any questions that anybody might have.
Thank you very much for the report. It's interesting. I'll turn it over to council now to see if they have any questions. Anyone from council with questions? Deputy Mayor Smyberg?
Thank you. This doesn't actually pertain to the report exactly, but I did have a resident ask me about neighborhood watch programs. So we used to have them back in the day. I'm not sure if you can recall them. Do they still exist? Do you know?
I believe they do. It's not something that is run through the police service, but certainly the community is, they're very knowledgeable of the community, and as long as we have people within the program that are responsible and not doing it for nefarious reasons. I know that at times there were some issues with the community watch program, so I think we just have to be careful in how we screen certain people in and what that looks like. But anything that can support people that are in need, I think is a fantastic thing. I remember as a child, my parents were part of that program. So, I do recall some people stopping by the house when they needed something.
Can I just follow up with a comment? I just want to thank your presence on the police services board. You've done a really good job of filling in that gap, and you've been really proactive and a positive addition to the board. So I just wanted to say thank you for all that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Smyberg. Any, Councillor Lockie?
Yeah, through your worship, to Commander Barnaby, thanks so much for being here tonight. I do have two questions.
Sure.
So the first question is, so on social media, especially like the Dorchester page, you see a lot of people posting videos from their houses or the cars saying, hey, have you seen this person? You know, be alert. Is this useful information for you? And is there a way for them to contact the OPP to share this information?
Is it useful? I guess we will screen all information that comes to us, and absolutely. So Jeff Hare is our community engagement officer. He's our media officer within this area. However, if people have specific information, we do have a 1-888 number that is part of our website, and within that website, it allows people to upload content or speak to an officer directly, right? So if people are posting on social media and they think it is information that we would be able to utilize, they're welcome just to call us directly, and then that information will get to an investigating officer.
Thank you. And then my second question is, regarding the increase in the sexual offenses, obviously a concern. Are these mostly, random attacks, or are these often where the offender and the victim are known to each other?
The statistics would support the latter. So typically sexual assaults coming from an unknown person are fairly rare. That's not to say that they don't occur, but the vast majority of unfortunately are members that they do, the victims do know.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. And I see Councillor Crockett's hand is raised.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, I'm not there in person, but I do appreciate you coming in to council chambers for your presentation. I was just curious. I know that over the past year that we've been communicating with residents regarding the use of the non-emergency line, and I was just wanting to clarify whether that's still the appropriate practice, especially as it pertains to traffic enforcement and concerns.
Yeah, obviously, we don't want to discourage people from calling us when they feel something is important. However, if typically if there is no imminent public safety risk, then the non-emergent line would be the best way to contact us. And if members of the community have traffic concerns, they are more than welcome to speak to council, and then at which point council is able to relay that information to me, and then we can look at strategies to address those concerns. So there's a variety of different ways that we can go about that, but certainly for those type of things, the non-emergent line would be the best avenue for us, for sure.
Wonderful, thank you. I know that we've become quite close with the OPP, unfortunately, in regards to some traffic concerns around Thames Centre, and we really appreciate the increased presence of your officers. So thank you.
Anyone else from council with a question? Okay, Councillor Heeman.
Thank you, Your Worship. And thank you, Commander Barnaby, for coming here today. And I just want to thank you and your colleagues for the work that you do when you're going through all of the statistics and the scope of the work that you carry out throughout the county. I think that, it's hard work, and we appreciate that it's done. Just picking up on some of the things that you mentioned, I think as a council, we were pretty keen on this whole speed radar opportunity, but that's subsequently been repealed. And not that we were looking for the funds, but we were looking for another tool. And I think in rural areas, like the challenges of being in multiple places at once. It's just a challenge. We do have a system of speed radar signs, and it has been our practice to share that information. So I'll make a motion to do that, unless it's a routine process already.
Through your, through your worship, it's a quarterly email we send the OPP detachment.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I'll check, but it's a quarterly. Yeah, we do it after each quarter here. I'll see what who the last one was sent to.
Thanks. And I just want to pick up on your comment about CCTV, because that has been something that has been expressed by at least residents in Thorndale, and we were kind of hoping that part of doing the photo radar would allow us to have that dual capacity. And I was wondering, is there any kind of benefit to having those apparatuses on our existing speed radars, or would it be more of a urban focused CCTV system?
So when something occurs, whether you attach them to a speed sign that is capturing the speed, I don't know that information. Our auxiliaries do have a presentation on CCTVs, so I can certainly look into that to see if there's any legislation requirements that limit that. from our perspective, it's not something that we would get involved in within that. We would just utilize that tool if required. So that would be more of municipality motion or bylaw within the municipality, if that's something that you.
Okay, yeah, I'm just curious if we don't have the authority to bring forward charges, but if we were able to provide you with the data, if that would be a useful tool. But again, this is probably highly regulated by the province and whatnot, but
Yeah, so to be clear, the use of CCTV for Highway Traffic Act offenses wouldn't be something that we would utilize that for. There is legislation that allows us to act after the fact, but primarily that it would be very hard to articulate the driver or identify the driver in that circumstance. So it's a little bit different than the most recent decision by the provincial government to take away speed enforcement signs or regulations. It's a little bit different of regulation, so I think that would have to be more of a provincial decision on whether we would be able to be authorized to act in such a way. So we would typically use CCTV for matters that we're investigating that involve criminality, not necessarily speed.
well, thank you. And once again, we appreciate the work you do in this municipality. And again, I think the added presence is noted and appreciated, especially on our rural back roads. People do see it and appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Can I just ask a follow-up question on the CCTV? And I don't really want to belabor the point, but are they most often put on at say a store owner's request or near our park or anything, areas where it's kind of identified as being maybe more prone to vandalism or break-ins or any of that sort of thing? Do you you would almost, I'm wondering if you need that kind of buy-in from any of the store or business owners in order to proceed?
And being able, sorry, I'm a quick learner, not really, sorry. We can certainly, I can certainly look into that, and someone just reminds me and I'll make sure that I pull those stats and specifically of what you're looking for. And typically it is store owners that would benefit from that. But the CCTs in municipal areas as well are beneficial. If you think about when these thefts of property are occurring, whether it's in a shed or something like that, if we see someone walking past, it doesn't necessarily mean that that is the person, but it gives us a clue of a pathway and then being able to continue that investigation as opposed to not having any leads at all.
Maybe I just watch too many crime shows or something. I don't know.
They're great for entertainment. They
In
don't do us
practice.
any service at all.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Okay, so if we were interested in pursuing that, then we would need to talk to you and then on to the auxiliary force that you were talking about.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
I can certainly ask our analysts to pull some statistics and hotspots within localized Thames Center.
Yep.
And then if the auxiliary program we're interested in a presentation, we can certainly arrange
That's
that
right.
to the auxiliary program. Come in, discuss the CCTVs cameras a little bit more.
Great. Well, I know that Tim Center certainly appreciates the extra attention around here, knowing full well that you guys are busy also, not only with our villages and hamlets, but the 401 as well. Councillor Heeman, do you have another question?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just one last question or comment. With the help of the county and some of our own staff, there's now more community safety zones and school areas. And I think that we appreciate any activity in those areas. And we hope that that added tool is a useful benefit for enforcement.
One thing about the schools is now that we're slowly being introduced back to the schools now, which is fantastic. So I think you'll start to see more of a presence even just in the community patrol, foot patrol within the schools, which then will also speak to potential enforcement within those areas and community areas as well. So lots of positive trends there for sure. Absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your presence here tonight. I know it's good to catch up on this information and learn a few other things. So thank you so much.
Okay. Well,
And
thank
I know that these are busy days, so we won't keep you any longer.
I appreciate it. And I
Okay.
know someone had mentioned potentially a follow-up conversation about school buses. Please feel free just to reach out and we'll connect. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you very much. So now I'd like if there's a mover and a seconder to that the presentation by Inspector Barnaby on behalf of Middlesex, Ontario Provincial Police. Deputy Mayor Smybert and Councillor Heeman, all in favor? Chantal, I don't see your hand, so maybe let's go over to voice, okay?
In favor.
Okay, thank you. All right, that motion carries. So it's our pleasure to introduce to you Josh White, who is the Procurement Services Manager for Middlesex County, to present the council on procurement services. So Josh, whenever you're ready.
Right on. Yeah. Through your worship to council, thank you for having me out tonight to talk about procurement services. Just a quick introduction for those of you who don't know me. My name's Josh White. I've been with the County of Middlesex for a little north of 3 years now doing procurement. And previously to that, I've been doing procurement for 16 years, both privately and then in the public sector since 2018. And I'm here tonight to talk to you about county procurement services as I've been engaged by your interim and now CAO about potentially utilizing our services. I'm going to tell you specifically about who procurement services is and what we do. And most importantly, how we will be a benefit of the municipality if you choose to utilize our services. So with that, forward. So a brief overview how we kind of got to this point. So Middlesex County moved to a centralized procurement environment back in late 2022 as a result of a study done by a consultant as part of the province of Ontario's municipal modernization program. Initial support when my role was created was just strictly for the county, MLPS, Strathmere Lodge, the library, and some ad hoc consulting for our lower tier municipalities. In July 2024, an additional resource, my procurement officer, Stephen, which you might see from time to time if you utilize our services, was hired with the intent of supporting other lower tier municipalities, and support for the other lower tiers began in fall 2024. To date, we fully support the Township of LA Metcalfe, Luke and Bidoff, North Middlesex, Village and Newbury, and just recently onboarded Strathroy Caradoc and hopefully Center. We've converted all of those except Strathroy Caradoc from on our paper or email to online bidding on bids and vendors. We also do support Southwest Middlesex and Middlesex Center. That's more on an ad hoc basis, but we're expecting that to change soon. Procurement bylaws have been implemented in Adelaide Metcalfe, Luke and Bidoff, North Middlesex, Southwest Middlesex, and Strathroy Caradoc have all received drafts to review as well. And another function that we do for our lower tier municipalities is assist group purchasing organizations, and you can see there are a full list of them that we use, but we're not limited to those. Just to give you an idea of the scale of what we are doing and how this adoption has ramped up significantly. In 2024, we facilitated 35 procurements. In 2025, we went up to 80. And so far in 2026, we are at 27 procurements, which is more than calendar days right now. So quite a bit of uptake, especially now. All right. So here are the 4 core responsibilities of county procurement services. There's more that we do, but these are the 4 that I like to highlight. It's the majority of what we're responsible for. First and foremost, achieve best value for taxpayer dollars in a transparent manner. And I should mention, I'm going to be touching more on these as we go through the presentation and speak to them. To mitigate risk, to improve efficiency, and to manage vendors. Improving efficiency, I'll kind of speak to now, like payroll or other finance department. Within a municipality, we're a specialized department. It's all we do. So we get used to turning around these fast, quicker than most regular working staff can do. To the credit of the staff at Thames Center, I know they all take on procurement responsibilities on their own, and you'll see in future slides, there's quite a bit that's involved with that. So what we would like to do if we were brought in would be to support them and take all of that off their plate so we can kind of work on what we specialize at, and it allows the municipality staff to focus on what they're best at. And also too, it's not really thought about, but as we are ramping up support for other municipalities, it's better for the vendors. They're used to our processes, our procurement documents. So if they're dealing with Adelaide Metcalf, as well as Thames Center, there's some synergies in there. And as well as working with third-party engineers or consultants, we're utilizing the same ones across all the municipalities. They're familiar with our processes and how we handle the procurement side of things. So hopefully when quotes come in for their services, at least the aspect of the procurement side of what they're pricing out is relatively minimal because they know that county procurement services is handling that part of the work. So what county procurement services specifically does, I won't go into all of these into great detail, but please ask questions if there's anything you'd like me to delve a little deeper into. Administration and adherence to procurement bylaw. Again, this helps achieve best value. And when I say best value, it's not necessarily the lowest price possible on a particular good. It's finding the right good that meets the municipality's requirements. Also ensuring transparency. Ensuring transparency encourages competition in most scenarios, which would also increase the opportunity for best value, and being more transparent also mitigates risk, having everything else out in the open. We also assist municipalities with facilitating the procurement process, determining the appropriate purchasing method, assisting with the development of specifications and requirements. With specifications and requirements, we leverage the municipalities to, by and large, determine what they are, as they're the subject matter experts and are also the ones making the purchase at the end of the day. But we are there to help facilitate if there's an ad hoc purchase that they're looking for or something that that they would need. Further information on that, we have a lot of resources that I'll talk with in the very near future about how to develop those to ensure the municipality gets what they need. And then further on, it's just more proceeding, helping out with the bid process through issuing it, dealing with site visits, and ultimately closing procurements and negotiations. We also assist with contract development and execution. With the support of county legal services, they developed a standard contract that we utilize. In 95% of the cases, that contract works and we leverage our RFP as the majority of it, or tender, I should say, as part of it. When we get into unique situations where we do think that legal opinion is necessary, we will recommend that to the municipality staff. It's ultimately their determination as to whether or not they would like to utilize it. And then finally, assisting with reports. And continuing what we help municipalities with, we mitigate risk both through trade agreements. We follow the Canada Free Trade Agreement and the Canadian European Trade Agreement, which delves into specifically with municipalities. As the Buy in Ontario Act comes into place, which we're expecting in the next few months, will help municipalities with what that means and potential challenges around it. And then also leveraging legal precedent. Again, procurement's our world. We see what's going on not only across the county, but the province and Canada. So we can leverage situations and learn from them to implement best practice with procurements and contracts. Contract management, I kind of touched on this. We assist with the execution. The tracking, that's something else that we tend to, or at least instruct our municipalities to keep track of. The only reason is because ultimately at the end of the day, the municipalities are the owners. That said, County Procurement Services does track this on our behalf, and we manage all price increases and terms and conditions with them on behalf of our supported lower tier municipalities. And then vendor management. So if there's an ad hoc procurement and staff are looking for potential vendors out there, we'll assist with that. There's been quite a lot of that lately and during the budget process as we've been looking for specific projects and developing the budgets. We'll go out and reach out for that information on municipalities' behalfs. Debriefs, at the end of an RFP process, it's common for non-successful vendors to reach out and ask as to why they weren't successful. This has increased significantly in my time in the industry. I used to handle probably between 2 or 3 debrief requests a year. Last year we had 25. So if you think about delving into as to why a particular vendor wasn't successful on an RFP, setting up a meeting call, that's about an hour and a half, 2 hours of staff time at the very least. We take that off the municipal staff's plate and handle that on their behalf. And then finally, resources we have available. And sorry, I keep forgetting to click this. The Ontario Public Buyers Association. So both myself and Steve, my procurement officer, are members of this. There are over 800 public procurement professionals across 220 public agencies that are part of it. So chances are is if the municipality hasn't done something for a specific procurement, nor has anybody else in the county, somebody out there will, and we have a whole network that we can reach out to rather easily. Bid repositories like bids and tenders, we're constantly going through there looking for requirements supporting staff, as I mentioned, and then group purchasing organizations, the ones that are out there, when to use them and when is it best to maybe not use them. And then of course, good old fashioned research. So the next page, or the next couple pages, I won't go too into detail. This is actually what I share with staff. And as you can see here in this first one, this is a typical procurement process. Like I said, the municipality staff has been handling this all on their own, which is commendable. So what my department would like to do is come and take this off their plate for the most part. And you can see here that if County Procurement Services is utilized, who does what exactly. But to put it at a very high level, what we require from municipal staff as it pertains to procurements is assisting us with the development of requirements. Happy to assist with. Be available once the procurement is released for questions or site visits, which again, we will be in full attendance with if necessary to make sure things run smoothly and mitigate all risk possible. And then when it comes to actual evaluations and determine the appropriate vendor to go with. So again, we'd be more than happy to take all that previous procurement work that municipal staff had to deal with and basically from this point forward, just utilize their expertise as procurements come about. And then finally, potential initiatives. So as you saw with my first couple slides, really the focus of the department was A, creating it, and then B, slowly onboarding municipalities. It's kind of been on a first come, first served basis. Once people find out about us, they tend to ask. But things that we're looking to do is, one, identify common purchases across municipalities to consolidate and create greater purchasing power. That's something that's in the works right now. We've had a couple of our municipalities reach out about a couple things that they'd like to see us do. So that's to be seen. A centralized vendor reference database and streamlined performance reviews. So in my 16 years of doing procurement, I can count on one hand the number of bad references I've actually received. they're not going to provide them in the first place. And if they do, it's an actual mistake. So something that we've already implemented in our procurement documents, both at the county and the lower tiers that we support, that is if a vendor submits a bid, we're free to leverage any work experience that they've had within the county or any of the other lower tier municipalities, whether they like it or not, and we can formulate our decision on accepting the bid based on that. And then I envision us also too, that we'll get to a place where all this data is in one spot, that municipal staff can literally just reach out to us and say, hey, we're thinking about using vendor A for X, and do we have any experience on them? And we would have that readily available. And then finally, shared professional rosters and shared contractor programs. So I have already kind of touched on that. We work with the same contractors across all municipalities. As we have been on board, and my department has been kind of keeping track as to what procurements are we going out for at various municipalities, what vendors are actually submitting bids for those, and seeing where we can find some synergies. A, to increase purchasing power, and then B, to just to make our life a little easier, consolidating, multiple bids into one, it make a big difference. And then finally, a potential initiative as it pertains to the municipality is the potential bylaw that might be coming down the road, which staff are currently reviewing. So with that, thank you for your time. My department looks forward to supporting the municipality, and we really believe that we can be a significant net benefit. And at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much, Josh. So I will turn it over for council to ask questions. Councillor Lockie.
Yeah, through your worship. So with respect to the funding of your department, so is it covered under our property taxes, or would we receive an allocation based on usage?
Yeah, so funny enough, on my first page, I have it highlighted in bright yellow here because I always go through this presentation. I get this question asked the first time. We are on the levy. So theoretically, we are not free. It's already paid for via the property taxes. There's no additional cost like county legal services or IT services, for example. So regardless of how much the municipality utilizes us, it's already on the levy regardless.
Okay, so how come then many other lower tier municipalities are using you right away and we're kind of delayed?
It's a combination of things. So when this first happened and I had my resource given to us and he was brought up to speed and all that, we were planning on strategically going about it one at a time. Or I shouldn't say one at a time, but developing an order that was fair for all the municipalities. But as they've heard about us, they started utilizing us, and we weren't going to say no as we were trying to develop the program. But we are being strategic in terms of trying not to onboard everybody at once. There's 2 of us, and by the numbers I quoted earlier, we're punching well above our weight in terms of the number of procurements that we do every year. So we didn't want to bring on a municipality saying that we could support you full-fledged and then not be able to deliver up to our standards. So that's why it's kind of been a slow approach, and I would say 14 months we've been kind of slowly onboarding. You guys are probably right in the middle or just past in terms of who we've actually adopted, but that's the reason.
Okay, and then just one more question. So when you onboard a municipality, where do you usually find your low hanging fruit? Because I'm sure there's lots of opportunity.
So most of the ones that we've adopted, the low hanging fruit was bringing them on to bids and tenders. I know the municipality is doing online bidding, I believe, through Dingo right now. So getting those municipalities out into the open market where there's thousands of vendors, seeing that their bids published obviously increases their competition and hopefully getting them better pricing. Aside from that, really the low hanging fruit would be from a risk perspective as we're evaluating procurement templates. The nice thing at being the county, even though David will probably not like it that I say it, even though that legal bills municipalities, we get their support at the county level. So they implement best practices at the county, which we're able to share at the lower tier municipalities. So I believe that utilizing our processes and our documents, we've been able to substantially reduce the amount of risk that some of our lower tier municipalities have been experiencing.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, and thank you for coming to present to us tonight.
Deputy Mayor Spivert.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that purchasing has really become complex over the past number of years. And so I fully support the partnership with the county with respect to procurement practices. And I guess my question to you, Josh, is it, would it be ideal if each municipality had a similar procurement bylaw? Would that make your job a little bit easier? Is that what you're trying to do, or you're willing to work with, everyone's procurement bylaw?
Correct. So with the counties, the ones that we've already implemented within Adelaide Metcalfe and Lucan Biddulph are very much of the same structure. Granted, there are some minor nuances, spend limits, things of that nature as to what requires council approval and what not. But by and large, they all follow the same overall template, and that's what we're looking to with the drafts that are out, and hopefully at this municipality as well. And it also provides the benefit for things like sharing references and other things of that nature, because if we're all have the same bylaw, we can all use the same templates, which makes my department's job easier as well. And it just creates a better synergy between municipalities. Welcome.
Any, Councillor Heeman?
Thank you. Thank you for this presentation and for the offer of service. And I think like we have been going through some experiments in terms of trying to get efficiencies with our procurement. And I think with our previous exercise, we ended up duplicating a capacity. And I think this is actually working with our existing capacity and ideally providing a savings. And, you know, I'm a big fan of Costco personally, you know, and in business. And, you know, there isn't quite a Costco for municipalities. So this might be the closest next thing. And, you know, likewise, buying groups, cooperatives, these are long proven models. And I think we've seen a lot of consolidation in our vendors and the construction industry. And, you know, such that in some cases they have more capacity than we do, sometimes on the legal side. And I see there being a benefit of shared knowledge, especially with predatory vendors that we do have some in the area. So thank you for the presentation, and I look forward for some savings in bulk. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Heeman. Councillor Crockett, did you have any questions?
No, I'm good, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right then, Josh, thanks very much for your presentation. Appreciate you coming out on cold winter night. So I will turn it over to council now. We have a motion before us. It's appended to your agenda, and it is on the screen. So give you a minute, and a mover and a seconder for that motion. Moved by Councillor Heeman and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor?
In favor.
Okay, thank you. That motion carries. Thanks, Josh. At this point, council will council will adjourn its regular meeting at 5:53 p.m. and move into public participation meetings pursuant to the Planning Act to consider applications listed on the January 26, 2026 regular council agenda. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor?
In favor.
That carries. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is consent application B21-25, Kenneth and Shelley Baruga Street as applicants, Braden Josh Baruga State agent. Oh, I'm sorry. My mistake. That was pulled from the agenda. I'm terribly sorry. And it was, the item was pulled at the request of the applicant. My apologies, council. The second one, 7.2, was also municipally initiated housekeeping amendment to the Thames Center Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw regarding shipping containers. And this item has also been pulled by staff for further refinement of the bylaw. No further notice will be required pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act. So in that case, we'll move on to item number 7.3 on your agenda. Aaron, whenever you're ready, we are considering the consent application B22-25, 410303 Ontario Limited, care of Douglas J. Duffin as applicant, and part lot 10, concession 2, West Missouri, and part lot 6, and part 6 are registered plan 33R7571. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So the first application before council this evening, the purpose of which is to convey a parcel of land for lot addition purposes to be merged in the same name and title to an abutting property to the north, known municipally as 16791 Whiten Drive. The subject property is 53 hectares. It's a farm situated on the southwest corner of Whiten Drive and Missouri Road, County Road 27. It also directly abuts the CN rail line to the west. The lands are currently vacant of buildings or structures and is largely used for agricultural purposes in the form of cash cropping. The lands to be conveyed are approximately 0.12 hectares or 0.3 acres in size. They are vacant of buildings and structures as well. The land contains 2 planted tree lines and has been used by the owners of the residential parcel for the past 8 years or so, as much as I could determine using aerial photography. Staff note that the lands to be enlarged were severed from the larger farm parcel in 2016 and were kept small enough to include just the dwelling and the private services, and to retain as much farmland as possible at that time. However, since the applicant has advised that the severed lot configuration has made it difficult to farm the area due to the size of the modern farming equipment and the location of the adjacent lot lines at 16781 Whiten Drive. So I'm not sure if you can see my little map here. There is a little inset. It shows the yellow area, which is the lands that are being proposed to be conveyed. If you look at the parcel fabric itself, there is 16781 juts out further. So it is, in order to farm that area, the applicant has to enter in closer to the existing dwelling and come out. So I think just for operational efficiency purposes, they've planted trees there so that the property is more in line to be used with the residential property. So if approved, the retained land, being the subject property, would be approximately 53.67 hectares in size, and the enlarged land, being 16791 Whiten Drive, would be approximately 0.52 hectares in size. And of course, to facilitate this lot addition, the conveyed portion would be required to be merged in PIN and title with the adjacent lot so that it doesn't become a separate lot itself. So the provincial planning statement, the county official plan, and the Thames Centre official plan collectively support consents for minor lot boundary adjustments, provided such adjustments do not result in the creation of a non-viable farm parcel or the fragmentation of agricultural lands, and that the ongoing agricultural activity remains unhindered. In addition, the policies require that the severed lands be merged in title, which we are requesting this evening through the recommended conditions. And is staff's opinion that the application meets these criteria. Staff are of the opinion that the 0.12 hectares or 0.3 acre parcel of land is proposed to be conveyed is small in scale, and its conveyance to the rural residential lot would improve the overall configuration and efficiency of the farming operation by providing a continuous field boundary for the landowners. Overall, the proposal would not result in the fragmentation of the agricultural land base and would meet the intent of the governing policy documents. From a zoning perspective, the subject property is within the site-specific agricultural A-45 zone. This is reserved for the properties that undergo the surplus farm dwelling severances for the remnant farm parcels. If the conveyance is approved, the retained farm parcel would be approximately 53 hectares in size, which exceeds the minimum lot area requirement of 40 hectares under that zoning provision. And all other provisions of the zoning bylaw would be maintained as well. The application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. Comments that were received. There was the standard condition from the county engineer that the owner be required to dedicate lands up to 18 meters from the center line of construction of County Road 27 across both the severed and retained lands to the County of Middlesex for the purposes of road widening in the future, if not already to that width. We also circulated to the public, and we have not received any comments from any neighbors or any other members of the public. So that being said, my recommendation this evening is approval, subject to the 8 conditions listed in my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Erin. Any additional information that the applicants might want to present? No? Good. All right, thank you. Okay. And any, I don't think there's anyone in the chambers here who wishes to speak to this application. Am I right? And anyone online?
There's no one online, your worship.
Okay, all right. Then if that's the case, then we'll move it over to questions from council, should they have any. I'm not seeing any. So in that case, then if there's no further discussion, the public participation meeting is now closed and we move to the decision. So
I would motion to move the approved recommendations with the subject
Okay.
conditions.
All right. So council, you're approving the motion that's appended here. Moved by Councillor Heeman and seconded by Councillors, Deputy Mayor Smyberg. All in favor?
In favor.
Okay. So there are none opposed, so that motion carries. Thanks very much, Erin. And thank you for your presence here. The next item on our agenda is 7.4, consent application B23-25 and zoning bylaw amendment application Z2825, 410303 Ontario Limited, care of Douglas J. Duffin applicant, and the property address is 20884 Missouri Road. So Erin, whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. So the purpose and effect of the consent application is to sever a parcel of land to facilitate the disposal of a resident surplus to a farming operation. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment application is to then rezone the balance of the farm to prohibit any new residential use consistent with provincial and local planning policy. The subject property is approximately 20 hectares. It is a farm situated on the east side of Missouri Road, County Road 27, just north of Robin Hill Road. The farm contains a single detached dwelling serviced by private septic, as well as a detached. Lands are used for field crop cultivation with the exception of a small portion of lands along the southerly lot line, which contains a woodlot which extends into the neighboring lands. The lands to be severed would have frontage of approximately 72 meters along Missouri Road and an area of approximately 0.43 hectares or just over 1 acre in size. They would contain the single detached dwelling and detached garage used for the cultivation of field crops. The lands to be retained are vacant and would have a frontage of approximately 236 meters and an area of approximately 20.23 hectares. The applicant is also proposing to rezone the lands to be retained, being the remnant farm parcel, from the agricultural A zone to the site-specific agricultural A-45 zone to prohibit any new residential use. And of course, council will be very familiar with that zone. It is the one that we reserve for these types of severances. So that is why we are recommending this evening. Staff note that this application was originally submitted in August of 2024, but was withdrawn before a decision could be made. This was due to the property inadvertently merging with the neighboring adjacent property, which is also owned by the applicant. This has now been rectified, so the applicant wishes to pursue the consent at this time. So the provincial planning statement, county official plan, and Thames Center official plan generally permit lot creation for the surplus farm dwelling severances as a result of farm consolidation, subject to specific criteria. This includes the dwelling being habitable, of course, at least 10 years old. The residential parcel is to be the minimum size needed to accommodate the residential use and private servicing. And consolidation in this case means the acquisition of additional farm parcels to be operated under a single farming operation. Staff would like to note that although the existing dwelling has a front yard setback of approximately 6 meters, which is less than the 10 meters, which is required under the A zone, Section 1.1 of the zoning bylaw does indicate any lot and the location of any buildings or structures on the lot which existed prior to January 1st, 1980 shall be deemed to comply with the relevant regulations of the zone, including setbacks, regardless of the requirements of the zone. So staff are taking the opinion that this setback reduction or setback deficiency still meets the requirements of the zoning bylaw and does not need to be addressed under a site-specific zone. Therefore, staff deemed the rezoning to be appropriate and ultimately representing good planning. The application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. The county engineer provided the road widening dedication up to 18 meters from the center line of construction of Missouri Road across both the severed and retained for purposes of road widening in the future if it's not already to that width. The drainage superintendent advised that a reapportionment would be required and has been added as a condition of approval. The chief building official also provided their standard conditions regarding a survey identifying that the building and any structures on the lot meets all applicable zoning provisions, and that the septic be inspected and ensured that it is wholly contained on the severed lot, as well as the well as well. Wow, as well as the well as well. Oh my goodness. The application was also circulated to the public. We did not receive any comments or concerns. So therefore, my recommendation this evening is approval subject to the 12 conditions listed in my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erin. Any additional information, we'll ask you again if you have anything on this way. No, none. Okay, thank you. So again, nobody to speak to the issue. Okay, fine. So any questions from the members of council? I'm not seeing any. Chantal, you don't have any questions?
No, I'm good, Mayor.
Okay, all right then. So there being no further discussion, the public participation meeting is now closed. And council has two decisions to consider tonight. One is for consent and the other is for zoning, and they are lengthy and attached to your agenda. So a mover and a seconder for the first one for zoning, Councillor Keeman, Deputy Mayor Smyber, all in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. So that carries. And so the next one is for, oh, I'm sorry, that was the consent. So I'm sorry, this, and the second one is for zoning. A mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Lockie, all in favor?
In favor.
Okay. Thanks very much. That motion then is carried. So item 7.5 is to close the public meetings. A mover and a seconder that the planning public participation meeting adjourn at 6:08 p.m. in order to sit as a committee of adjustment under the Planning Act to consider minor variance applications listed on the January 26, 2026 regular council agenda. Councillor Lockie and Deputy Mayor Smyber, all in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. That motion carries. So considering 8.1 minor variance application A6-25, Ryan and Amanda Elliott Holdings Limited, care of Ryan Elliott as the applicant, Bill Kerrigan as the agent, and the property address is 22469 Purple Hill Road. Go ahead, Erin.
Thank you very much, Chair. So the first application before the committee this evening, the purpose and effect of which is to seek relief from the Thames Center Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw as it relates to the interior side yard setback and rear yard setback requirements of the site-specific rural industrial M2-2 zone. The subject property is approximately 1.73 hectares or 4.27 acres in size. It's located on the west side of Purple Hill Road, just north of Oliver Drive. The property contains a single detached dwelling and for residential accessory structures, as well as a vehicle repair business run out of 2 large commercial buildings. Staff calculate the total lot coverage of the existing buildings to be approximately 10%. The property is surrounded by an agricultural property that is largely in production and is separated by several tree rows along the rear lot line, as well as additional vegetation along the sides as well. The applicant is proposing to construct a 989 square meter or just over 10,000 square foot building for their vehicle and equipment storage. This would be in the rear yard of the property and it's indicated on the location map if you can see the little hatched area at the bottom there. The applicant has advised that the setback reductions are necessary to allow space between the proposed structure and other structures on the site and to allow for the maneuvering of heavy trucks and trailers in and out of the new building. If approved, the total lot coverage of the existing and proposed would be approximately 14%. I do want to note that, as you can see on the map here, there was an error in the public notice in the location map that went out. The notice identified the requested setbacks as 3.5 meters and 4.5 meters. However, the applicants have been working through the site plan process, and through that period of time, the building has located or shifted slightly. So the requests this evening are for 6.1 meters for both the rear lot line and side yard reduction, or side setbacks. We did not feel that it was necessary to recirculate the public notice as they were improving the setback reductions that were and making them better, moving closer to compliance. So we did not recirculate, but we did not receive any comments or questions from the public anyway, so it might have been a moot point. So I analyzed the application of the 4 tests of minor variance. Although the reductions relate to the interior side yard and rear yard setbacks, the proposed building really does continue to be separated from the adjacent properties due to the large lot size and setbacks that will remain well in excess of typical industrial standards and the presence of existing tree rows and vegetation along the rear and side lot lines. The proposed setbacks of 6.1 meters do not result in adverse impacts such as the loss of privacy, noise concerns, or conflicts with surrounding agricultural uses. And given the overall scale of the property and the limited increase in lot coverage, the variances can be considered minor. The reduced setbacks are required to provide adequate separation between buildings on site and to allow for safe maneuvering of heavy trucks and trailers, which is a functional necessity of the existing use. Therefore, staff are of the opinion that the proposal supports the business without expanding the footprint of the industrial use beyond what has already been established and taken out of production. In comparison to the official plan, the proposal does not remove land from agricultural production, does not introduce a new use, and does not hinder surrounding farming operations. The official plan does speak to the reasonable expansion of existing non-conforming and non-agricultural uses, providing that they do not create an adverse impact on surrounding agricultural operations. The development is contained, compatible with the rural landscape, and supported by existing zoning. And as such, planning staff are of the opinion that the official plan or the intent of the official plan is maintained. And finally, the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, or specifically the M2-2 zone, is intended to accommodate these rural residential or rural industrial uses while managing their scale and impact through standards such as setbacks and lot coverage. Specifically, the interior side yard and rear yard setbacks are intended to provide adequate separation between the industrial use and the adjacent agricultural and more adjacent sensitive land uses if there were any. Despite the requested reductions, the proposal does continue to maintain this intent by providing some separation as well as maintaining the buffering through the existing vegetation. Staff note that the property is surrounded by agricultural land and crop production. The nearest dwelling is a considerable distance away, so we do not anticipate any negative impacts on any residential uses in the area. The application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act, and we did not receive any comments or concerns from the public or from any of our departments or agencies. Therefore, my recommendation on the application is approval this evening. Thank you.
Thank you again, Erin. Is the applicant in the room? Anything you'd like to say? Would you like to come up to the podium there? Push the button in the center of the microphone, and when it's flashing red, then you're good to go.
All right, no, I just wanted to say I might have talked to my agent there, and I kind of want as much room as I can, so I was looking for, to get as close to the property line as possible, so the 4.5 meters or the 3.5. I didn't realize he changed that to 6. I'm not sure why he did that. But that's the first I've heard of that, so, yeah, I need what was written in here, the 4.5 and the 3.5 is what I was going for. So he must have taken the building and shrunk it down and moved it away from the property line. I need more room in between the buildings, so.
Is that something you can answer, Erin?
Through the chair, certainly, this can be a discussion that we can have outside of the council chambers. I do want to note too that the final site plan that is under approval does recognize the 6.1 meters. So if that is not accurate, we do need to take a look at that as well.
We're still in the planning. I'm not gonna, if I can't get the variance, I'm not gonna to do it. So basically, if I can't get the variance, there isn't room for a building. So.
So are you looking for us to then to defer a decision based on this
No,
or?
We might as well go, if that's what he's got planned, we might as well go with that. And then when it comes to the final building design, we'll have to make sure it'll fit in that. And if not, we'll have to reevaluate. But
Okay, so just to be clear, you'd like us to move forward then
Yep.
with the decision on the application?
yep.
Okie dokie. All right, so, first of all,
Mayor.
then.
Mayor,
Oh, I'm sorry.
sorry, I think it might be better to, through you, Mayor, I think it might be better to just defer the decision to confirm that the site plan, because the problem will be is if it doesn't work for the site, then you'd have to go through the full application process again,
Well,
and I don't think you'd find.
I can
that
make
to
it
be-
work. It
So,
was supposed to be done this winter and I'm really behind schedule.
so I think the two choices then staff have for you is that if you want a couple of weeks, because it can come right back to the next council meeting, if we confirm this over the next couple of days, and it wouldn't require a public meeting again, right? Because it's public meeting, then that way you could be firm. But if you want us to approve tonight, there's no going back.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, so then then you'd like us to recommend to defer and bring it back for the February 6th meeting?
Councillor Heyman has something he wishes to say.
Sorry, I'm, like, if it was circulated with the original setbacks and like this easement would, or variance would, like, that would influence the site plan process. So if we don't approve this, then you can't even consider that as part of the site plan, and site plan is subject to like, that's a delegated authority. You don't need council to make that decision. So if we were to approve it as circulated to the public, that would give both staff and the applicant the most amount of flexibility, right?
Through the chair, I mean, my analysis, my recommendation is completely based on this 6.1 meters. I'm not saying that it would necessarily change. I just, that was not part of the recommendation that I brought forward. I still, I do have concerns because we are in a final stage of the site plan that indicates it as 6.1. So, one way or the other, we'll need to sort of sort that out. But I mean, if council were to move forward with the 4.5 and 3.5, that is not the application that we have currently, but ultimately that's your decision.
Thank you. So.
So I would defer to the wishes of the applicant.
I'm sorry.
Defer to the wishes of the applicant.
Okay.
Right.
So we'll defer.
I guess I'm just confused.
We can get you back to the next meeting in
Yeah.
February. Does that put you in a
No, it's,
bind?
no, it's, I wanted it done for this winter, so.
Okay.
I can't build right now anyways in these conditions, so another 2
No.
weeks isn't gonna do anything.
Okay, all right. So we will be voting to defer this until the next meeting in February.
Okay.
Okay, so motion? Yep, we need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor?
In favor.
Okay, that carries then. Okay, well, we'll see you next meeting. Right,
That would be with no public
no
meeting.
public meeting as a reminder, yes. Okay, so at this point, we'll close the public participation hearing and move on to 8.2, minor variance A 10-25, Dwight and Marie Hepburn as applicant, Andrew Brown as the agent, and the property address is 4818 Westchester Bourne, otherwise known as County Road 74. Okay, you're busy tonight, Erin. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair. So this next application before the committee this evening, the purpose and effect of which is to seek relief from the Thames Center Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw as it relates to minimum lot area requirements of the agricultural A zone. Specifically, the applicant is requesting permission to recognize a reduced lot area of 8 hectares or 20 acres, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a minimum of 40 hectares. This application is intended to recognize a recent lot boundary adjustment through consent application B1925, which conveyed a 12-hectare parcel from the subject property to the adjoining property at 4864 Westchester Bourne. As the subject property was already undersized relative to the zoning requirement, the boundary adjustment further reduced its lot size, necessitating the subject minor variance this evening. So the property itself is 20-hectare farm situated on the east side of Westchester Bourne, or County Road 74, just south of Crampton Drive. The lands contain a single detached dwelling serviced by a private septic system and well, and also contain 2 farm buildings, being a horse barn and a hay shed / pool barn. The lands are used for agricultural purposes in the form of a horse farm and for field crop cultivation. The lands are designated agricultural and again zoned agricultural A within the zoning bylaw. So of course, the committee should be familiar with this application. It was approved by council on December 8th. The application sought to convey 12 hectares to be merged with the adjacent property. Planning staff did recommend denial of the application as the retained lot would be less than the required minimum lot area for an agricultural parcel. And in their opinion, the application was not in conformity with the policies of the county and local official plans. Through consent B1925, the retained lands have an area of approximately 8 hectares and a frontage of 305 meters, would contain all of the structures as well as a portion of field use for crop production. The lands to be conveyed, 4864 Westchester Bourne are approximately 12 hectares in size and contain most of the lands used for the field crop production. So as a condition of consent application, the applicants are required to obtain a minor variance to address the deficient lot area of the retained lands, hence the application this evening. I do want to note, the application for minor variance is a requirement of the consent. If the minor variance application is not approved, then the consent cannot be satisfied. The applicant cannot satisfy that condition. Therefore, in effect, the consent would fail. Respectfully, council's decision was what it was, despite planning's opinion. And unfortunately, the policies haven't changed. So the planning department does have to uphold their previous position. And I will briefly go through my 4 tests. But I did want to make it, perfectly clear that the variance is needed to satisfy the conditions of the consent. In terms of the test for minor in nature. The proposal seeks to recognize a retained parcel of approximately 8 hectares, which is a significant reduction from the minimum lot area of 40 hectares that is required. This constitutes a significant deviation from the zoning standard and represents an 80% reduction in the required minimum lot area. And staff are unable to find that it is minor in nature. In terms of whether it's an appropriate use of the land, staff are of the opinion that the requested variance is not desirable or appropriate for this use of the subject lands. While the application is intended to recognize the boundary adjustment through consent B 1925, the resulting retained parcel does not represent a viable agricultural lot consistent with provincial, county, and municipal policy direction. With the intent of the official plan, staff are the opinion that the requested variance does not maintain this intent. As you know, all of our policy documents governing our policy direction establish a consistent framework for the protection of agricultural lands and prime agricultural specifically. So the avoidance of land fragmentation and maintenance of farm parcels of a sufficient size is cornerstone to our official plans. Therefore, the application does not meet the intent of the official plan. And finally, in regards to the intent of the zoning bylaw, staff are the opinion that the requested variance cannot maintain the general intent and purpose. The minimum lot area requirement of 40 hectares in the A zone is intended to limit fragmentation of agricultural land and to ensure that farm parcels remain of a size that can reasonably support agricultural use over the long term, including flexibility of use. So that being said, the application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. We did not receive any comments or concerns from any of our agencies or departments, nor did we receive anything from the public. So that being said, my recommendation this evening is refusal. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Any additional information? No. Okay. And I'm sorry. Did you indicate you're the applicant, right? Did you have anything else you wish to say? Go ahead. Joining us, we know who you are, but would you like to introduce yourself for the meeting record?
Yes, so I'm Andrew Brown. So I was here at your meeting on sorry, your worship and honorable members of council. I was here representing the application for consent on November the 24th, and then back again on December the 8th. And just to and thanks for the planning staff for your work on this. But just to remind everyone that on December the 8th, the application for consent was approved with 10 conditions, and this minor variance was one of those conditions. So it's consistent with the application for consent, despite the fact that the official recommendation from the planning department is not to approve it. So anyways, we still feel very strongly that the application to convey the 30 acres from our neighbor to our property is valid, and there's no change in the use of these properties. The neighbor with a smaller parcel, he keeps 10 standard bred horses, and the size of the parcel is sufficient for his business, his operation. So that's my comment. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. So is there anyone online, Sarah? No. Okay. Any questions from the committee members?
I have a
Deputy-
question.
Okay. You go ahead first, Chantal, and then we'll move over to the deputy mayor.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, Michelle, your hand looks itty bitty on the camera. I just wanted to say, while I appreciate Erin's comments, I do not support the refusal of this minor variance, as Mr. Brown just stated, and to not repeat what he said, but us as council supported the lot boundary adjustment in December, and obtaining this minor variance was a condition of that approval. And as he mentioned again this evening, that both farms will be will continue to be viable. So with that, refusing it this evening contradicts our earlier decision. So I will be supporting the minor variance to complete this application, but I will pass it over to the rest of council for comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Crockett. Deputy Mayor Smyber?
Thank you. I had similar comments with respect to Councillor Crockett. Fully understand and respect staff's position and recommendation on the report, but I'm in favor of the application.
Councillor Heeman?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I'd just like to echo the previous comments, and I do thank the planner for her work on this file. And I appreciate that she's deferring to the provincial regulations, but I think that the provincial regulations are highly biased against intensive diversified agriculture uses. And you go back to our previous meeting, Monarch Meadows wouldn't have been here to receive the award for agricultural stewardship if we didn't go against the planning recommendation. So I think there's lots of opportunities for viable farm businesses on small parcels, and quite frankly, I think that that's an issue for the tax code and what qualifies as a sustainable income and an agricultural asset, and not, we appreciate a range of housing options. Why not have a range of land use parcels for agriculture? So thank you.
Anyone else with a comment? Okay, the public participation hearing is now closed, and we move to the decision. The decision before us is to refuse the application with the reasons pending. So a mover and a seconder to go. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we'll read the motion to approve then.
So, but we did, the clerks have put together a motion. The only difference is that it be approved. And we do not have reasons listed unless you guys would like to provide us reasons as to why you are approving this. From listening to you, I'm thinking the fact that as it is a condition of an approved consent and that this remains a viable agricultural parcel of land is the reasons to be listed on the notice, or would you like none?
I think you worded it
Council.
well.
Deputy Mayor Smyber?
I'll move that recommendation along with the suggested reasons for approval.
Okay.
I would like
seconder-
to second that.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Crockett. So all in favor? And that
In
carries.
favor.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Brown. And thanks, Aaron. Excuse me. So at this point, and the a motion to and the seconder to excuse me, that the Committee of Adjustment adjourn at 6:33 p.m. and council reconvene its regular meeting. Moved by Deputy Mayor Smyber and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor? That carries.
In favor.
Okay, moving on to item number 9, the approval of the previous minutes. A mover and a seconder that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held January 12, 2026 be approved as circulated. Moved by councillors Heeman and seconded by Deputy Mayor Smyber. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you, that carries. We move on to the item number 10, the consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda are received for information in one motion. Council members may request that one or more items be separated for further action. Unless there's any separation, a mover and a seconder for.
Mayor, I would like to pull 2 items if possible.
Go ahead.
The first being 10.1, and then a question that pertains to both 10.2 and 10.3.
Okay, go ahead.
Perfect. So as it pertains to 10.1 employment lands, I was just curious to better understand how this item will be brought to life. Will municipalities within Middlesex receive or have already received notification regarding the assessment of identified employment lands? Or are municipalities expected to propose areas based on available or needed services? I was just curious if we have comment on that from staff.
From staff, I'm going to turn this over to the CAO.
Sure. Thank you through you, Your Worship. So my understanding of the program has recently been established, and this is notification from the county that this has been passed by county council, and this is available to local municipalities within the county. So I don't believe that there's going to be additional notification. However, the county staff are very eager, excited to have a conversation with us if we would like to bring something forward. So that's generally my understanding of the program. And I reached out to both the County Director of Economic Development and Planning today. But perhaps as county representatives, the mayor and deputy mayor might have more to add.
I don't think that I do at this point unless the deputy mayor has something. Yes, go ahead.
No, I agree with the CEO. That's the intent of the program. I think, Councillor Crockett, I think your question deals more with the identification of employment lands. And so that's done with every lower tier's official plan. So if this was a program that Thames Center wanted to be part of, then that's a responsibility that Thames Center would have to identify that we want to do that. We'd have to meet the criteria, and then we'd have to forward that along to the county for their review.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification. That was kind of the line in which I was thinking and had assumed that it would be rolled up under official plan. So, ours is still not approved or updated. So perhaps something we can look forward to in the future.
Councillor Heeman.
And my understanding is that this is for priority in the county grant program, which we've already maxed out our eligibility. But yeah, with the storm infrastructure.
Yes and no. They've revamped the program to provide an expansion of funding. So we received like a stream of funds for that particular project, but that was when it hadn't been expanded to include this. So I think there's still an opportunity.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Smybert. It's always good to hear that we can get more funding support from the county. So
perfect. And sorry, Mayor, just for the other items, I recognize that items 10.2 and 10.3 are not directly connected, but my question applies to both in just the regards of whether or not planning staff have had the opportunity to review these new guidelines and consider how they may guide or impact upcoming or future development proposals.
Jeff, are you able to or take the question?
Through you, Mayor, and to the question, I'm not aware that we've had a look at it. I think the clarification of the agriculture impact guidelines is really to help with ensuring that there's not land use conflicts between non-agricultural use, new non-agricultural uses and existing agriculture uses as a means of protecting agriculture. The official plan is really clear about the predominance of agriculture in Thames Center and the importance of protecting agriculture. So these guidelines will only help with assessing applications, but I would anticipate we would have no trouble with them. It just gives us better guidance on those applications. So I don't anticipate there'll be a problem, but we can have a look at them and bring something back to council if there's a concern.
No, I don't think it's a concern. I more see it as a tool for you to utilize. And I appreciate that the government's actually come forward with these guidelines because I think they were long awaited to be updated. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does that answer all of your questions with the two items? then,
Yes.
Councillor Crockett? Okay, thank you. Unless there's something else that somebody else wishes to say, a mover and the seconder that consent items, agenda items 10.1 through 10.5 be received for information. Deputy Mayor Smybert and Councillor Lockie, all in favor?
In favor.
Okay, that carries. Thanks very much. Okay, moving on to item number 11, reports of departments. First one is 11.1, application for part lot control exemption, PLC-3-25 975009 Ontario Limited, operating as the Willows Golf and Country Club as the applicant. Development Engineering London Limited, care of Sean Duncan as the agent, concerning lots 5 and 6 of the Willows subdivision in Nilestown. So you're presenting this one too, are you? Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. So Alana did put this together. However, I'm presenting this evening, so I hopefully can answer everybody's questions. I'll do my best. So the purpose of this application is to exempt certain lands from the Planning Act provisions with respect to part law control, which allows further subdivision of lands to facilitate the expansion of the frontage of the golf course along Golf Drive from the current setup of 4.698 meters to 8.218 meters by reducing the frontages of lot 5 and 6 from 32.24 meters to 30.48. And lots 5 and 6 are to support single detached dwellings. Located in Nilestown, lots 5 and 6 are part of the Willows subdivision. They are rectangular in shape. Lot 5 has an area of approximately 2,325 square meters, or about half an acre, and a frontage of 32.24 meters. It says approximately, but that is a very definitive number. Lot 6 has an area of approximately 2,316 square meters, which is the exact same size, and a frontage of the same as well, 32.24. So council may recall that this exemption has been heard before. It was originally requested in 2024 and was passed in on October 7th. This exemption was requested for a 1-year time period and it lapsed in October 2025. The applicant has requested a reapplication of the exemption due to this lapse. The exemption is to increase the frontage of the golf course for the 1-year period of time. The Planning Act permits municipalities to pass bylaws to exempt lots or blocks within a registered plan of subdivision from part lot control. So further subdividing of individual lots or blocks can occur without the requirement of further subdivision or consent applications. Part lot control exemption also requires final approval by the county as the approval authority. This is largely administrative and does not require public meeting. Really, the intention of part law control is to allow developers to make changes to these types of subdivisions that don't require public notice, don't require public consultation. Small enough changes that it's really just a paper exercise. There's obviously no houses that have been built. It's really just to allow for the golf course to have a slightly wider driveway, and the 2 lots would be reduced in size, but still would follow the rules of the zoning bylaw. It would still meet the frontage requirements of 30 meters and the area requirements as well. So lot 5, if approved, would have approximately a size of approximately 2,197 square meters and a frontage of 30.48, again, which is in excess of the 30 meters. And lot 6 would be the same. An exemption to part lot control is necessary since a part of a lot or block cannot be conveyed to another party without a planning approval. Council has the authority to pass such bylaws. However, it does not come into full force and effect until the County of Middlesex issues a decision, which has been delegated to the Director of Building and Planning. So planning staff have reviewed the application. Again, this is a resubmission of a previous approval. We are still in support of the application. And therefore, our recommendation this evening is for it to be approved locally and be forwarded to the County of Middlesex for consideration of approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Any questions from the members of council? None? Councillor Crockett,
No, I'm good, Mayor.
just checking. Thank you. Okay, so we have the motion before us, and to accept. So could we, a mover and a seconder, please? Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Heeman. All in favor?
In favor.
That carries. Thank you. Thanks, Erin. Councillor Heeman,
Can I make a motion for a 5-minute recess?
certainly. By consensus, can we do that? Okay, so we will be back here at 6:51. Okay, we're back and we'll turn this one 11.2, the RFP lease of space at the Flight Exec Center, over to our Director of Community Services and Facilities to present. Mr. McDonald, when you're ready.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. Council has before yourselves report CSF 001-26 regarding the RFP that was issued to receive proposals from interested parties to lease available space at the Flight Exec Center. The spaces that were made available for proposals are two of the rooms alongside the walking track on the second level of the Flight Exec Center, known as Smitty's Lounge and the former Creative Art Studio, with the Creative Art Studio having relocated to its new space in the expanded Active Living Center. We received only one proposal, which is attached to this report in two sections. The proposal was submitted by the Thames Center Working Group, which is a part of the committee to establish a Middlesex County Archives. The staff review committee consisted of our interim treasurer, our parks and facilities manager, and myself. We gave this proposal a score of 70% based on the scoring matrix, which is shared in the RFP and is also shown on page 2 of this report. As a result, we are recommending that council direct staff to report back with a proposed agreement for a free lease of Smitty's Lounge as a temporary heritage depot focused on gathering and preserving irreplaceable historical documents and photos that record the history of Thames Center. The proposal review committee commends this experienced group of dedicated volunteers for addressing this current void and offering to take the initiative and become curators of our municipality's significant historical information. As the proposal recounts, this past November at County Council, Mayor McMillan's motion for Middlesex County to include funding for a feasibility study to establish a county-wide archives as part of the 2026 budget was approved. To that end, this proposal is an interim measure until a decision is made for a county-wide plan. As well, the bottom of page 7 and top of page 8 of the proposal outlines a logical plan for determining the future of any content collected by this initiative should the county decide not to proceed with support of some type of permanent archive structure. This proposal successfully explains how they will promote the Heritage Depot, the benefits of this initiative, and how it aligns with Thames Center's strategic priorities. It's also great to see their commitment to having days where they will make themselves available in Thorndale to receive heritage items from the north side of the municipality. Two other factors to draw to your attention are municipal costs related to this initiative and our required involvement for at least one grant. So firstly, with regards to municipal related costs, as they've outlined in their financial implications section, which is the second attachment, there would be a few costs for the municipality. Firstly, utilities. That would largely be the HVAC cost. However, that part of the building shares one HVAC unit, which is already pumping the heat in the winter and the AC in the summer. So the net difference would be minimal in that regard. Instead, the main utility cost that would see a little bump up would be electricity, as right now that room is not really being used, so the lighting's not on. So it would only be the cost of lighting a small room as well. They plan to operate one computer in that room. So we're estimating $50 a month at worst for a bump up in electricity. A second thing that they've requested would be for the municipality to cover the cost for the internet service for that computer. So there's a couple options there. Staff would first explore with county IT whether or not it's feasible and logical for them to become a part of our IT service, a part of our internet, as they could be viewed if council so decides as municipal volunteers. And then in which case there may be options for them to go on our internet service. And if not, then the estimated cost would be about $75 per month for us to provide them with their own internet service. As well, I'd identified in the report that another unknown cost at that point was insurance. I have since had conversations with our insurance broker, and Mark has confirmed that there would be no impact for us to cover these volunteers on our insurance, even if they're not municipal volunteers. The fact they're volunteering time towards the municipality, they are covered either way. So there'd be no extra costs in that regard. The one other item just for your consideration is also outlined in the proposal on page 5. They have acquired in principle a grant from the London Community Foundation. However, they are not a qualified recipient. So if council proceeds with this initiative, then we would have to be kind of the administrator of that grant on their behalf to receive the funds and help them use the funds, which are earmarked to go towards equipment, supplies, communication, and printing. And with that being said, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on this report, and as well wanted to let you know that Susan Rollier, who submitted this proposal, is watching remotely and available should you have any questions for her.
Thank you very much, Mr. McDonald. Any questions from the members of council? Daniel, Councillor Lockie.
Yeah, through your worship, Director McDonald. So I know that that room is a little bit on the cold side because it's close to the arena. Will they need to have a space heater to keep it a little bit warmer in the winter?
Through the mayor, no, they shouldn't. It's adjustable, so we have the ability to keep it comfortable as we do for Mad About Fitness and the Business Help Center. They're all in that same HVAC unit.
Thank you.
Anyone else with a question?
I just have a
Deputy-
comment, Mayor.
Certainly, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for staff for putting out the RFPs. And I think that this is a very worthwhile group coming in, and I'm excited to see what they can do in the space. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crockett. So turn it over to Deputy Mayor Smyber.
Councillor Crockett keeps on taking my thunder. I was going to say the same thing. This is a group of very dedicated individuals, and very happy to see that they found a place, permanent, not permanent, but I'm going to say bricks and mortar, I guess, a space that they can start doing their great work. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Heeman.
Thank you, Your Worship. And let's start by echoing my fellow councillors' comments. I think it's an excellent report, and thank you for taking the time to look at all the angles on this. And I know this committee has been working for over 4 years on this objective. So I would like to thank the mayor for her efforts at the county to work on a comprehensive strategy. And I would like to thank staff for thinking of a creative solution in this instance. I had a chance to talk with Nancy yesterday about the overall strategy and even with some members of staff about the importance of archives, not just for the community and community heritage, but for our own municipal interests when we look at the record keeping of our own documents. And I know, you know, in West Nigeria, we don't have a lot of those anymore because of a fire. And, you know, we have had different building incidences in certain facilities from time to time. And, you know, we're not immune to those vulnerabilities as well. So I've recently taken an interest in a lot of our past in Southwestern Ontario, and you can really see the difference from county to county where they have invested in these resources and the accessibility of those resources. And just one final comment, and I think it does this is kind of a municipal or broader public priority, and I don't think these types of things actually move forward unless we take an interest in. So yeah, knowing that there is a long-term strategy with the county to try and establish a central archive, and we're doing our part to show that we are committed to that outcome too. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Heeman. I think the Thames Center is more than happy to try and support this as much as we can. Any other questions or comments? Okay, if that's the case, then a mover and a seconder that report number CSF-001-26 be received for, and that council direct staff to report back with a proposed agreement for the free lease of Smitty's Lounge to the committee to establish a Middlesex County Archives Thames Center Working Group. Moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor?
In favor.
That carries. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 11.3, the fourth quarter departmental reports from October through to the end of December of 2025. We don't have anybody specifically, but they are all attached to your agenda. Are there any questions of any of the reports listed on this? I'm not seeing any, and no comments or questions from Councillor Crockett.
Sorry, my mute button wasn't undoing. No, Mayor, thank you for asking.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so in that case, then a mover and a seconder that the department quarterly reports for the fourth quarter of 2025 be received for information. Moved by Deputy Mayor Smybert and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor?
In favor.
That carries, thanks. I'm going to turn item number 11.4, the request to accept responsibility for the Avon Cemetery, over to our clerk, Janet Nethercott.
Good evening, Council. So before you is report LS 00226. This report outlines a request that our department has received to accept the responsibility for the Avon Cemetery. It was received earlier this month in January. The takeover of small volunteer-operated cemeteries by municipalities is actually becoming more prevalent as requirements for maintenance in small cemeteries, maintenance and administration for small cemeteries become more than a lot of the volunteers can handle. So the province has actually set it up in the legislation that municipalities take over cemeteries like this in order to keep them going. In speaking with the volunteer operators, Jim and Diane of the cemetery, it does not appear that we will have an onerous task taking on this cemetery with an average of 3 burials annually and no burials in the winter. So we believe that while it might take us a while to actually take legal ownership of the land due to the 1846 deed and the church no longer existing, along with the county legal, we believe that we can use the BAO or Bereavement Authority of Ontario's form and a quick agreement to get this together and hopefully get this out of their hands before they will be required to start doing the, grounds maintenance and stuff again. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Anyone with questions? Councillor Heeman?
Through you, your worship, to the clerk, was this one of the cemeteries that we have the maintenance grant?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, we do provide them a maintenance grant. They are financially pretty stable, so but we did provide them with a grant, which basically provided the gentleman gas for the summer for heading.
So I think it's a good example of why those grants are a prudent investment, because we do have these liabilities from a provincial standpoint, and we do want to incentivize our volunteers, but at the same time, if we are assuming this, then that we won't have that grant going out in the future too, so it's not a complete shock on the bottom line.
Any other questions or comments from council? Okay, well, in that case, then mover and a seconder that report number LS-002-26 be received for information, and that staff be directed to proceed with the legislative and legal steps required to accept responsibility for the Avon Cemetery. Deputy Mayor Smybert and that's a baby.
Yeah, sorry. Hannah will second.
Would you like to second the motion, Councillor Crockett?
Yes, I will.
Okay, all in favor?
In favor.
So that carries. Thank you. And back to the clerk, Ms. Nethercott, for policy review, public notice and sale and disposition of lands policy.
So good evening. This is the final 2 policies that make up the Section 270 policies, along with the purchasing policy which was talked about earlier this evening. These policies have not had huge changes made to them, more of a tweak here and there to modernize and simplify them so they're easier to understand and read. These were both also put into a policy format instead of separated bylaws. So we will get them all together, and it's going to allow for all the Section 270 policies to be adopted together. Hopefully at the next council meeting is the plan. Should council agree? If you have any questions, let me know.
So on that basis, any questions from the members of council? Deputy Mayor Smyber.
Just a comment. I thought it was a well-written policy, clear, and I think the process, I think, will be a bit more transparent than the one we had previously. So thank you for your work.
Anyone else? No? Okay, so in front of you then is the motion that report LS -003-26 be received for information, and that council approve in principle the public notice and sale and disposition of land policy, and that staff be directed to bring forward a bylaw to adopt these policies once all Section 270 policies have been reviewed and updated. Deputy Mayor Smybert as the mover and seconded by Councillor Lockie. All in favor?
In favor.
Great, that carries. Thank you. So I turn the next one for human resources policy update over to our CAO, Ms. Belchamber.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Council. So these are policy reviews that our municipality is required to review on an annual basis, as well as confirming our commitment to health and safety by reviewing and confirming a statement, which staff would then sign and post in all of the locations for our work. So some minor changes that have been suggested for council's consideration, not significant other than, I would say the most significant thing being pulling apart the workplace prevention, violence prevention in the workplace policy and harassment prevention in the workplace policy. It's completely fine and typical to have them together in one policy. The thought in separating them is the ease of confirming if there is a concern or a complaint. You're not having to filter through the document to rule out a component when you're trying to follow the process. But staff would actually be quite comfortable either way, but this is the recommended approach for this year.
Thank you. So any questions from council? Okay, and I'm not seeing any. So if we could have a mover and a seconder for the emotion appended to your agenda and on the screen. Councillor Lockie and seconded by Councillor Heeman. All in favor?
In favor.
That carries then. Thank you. Okay, item number 12, reports of committees. Items listed under reports of committees are approved by council in one motion. Council members may request that one or more items be separated for further action. And the mover and the seconder that reports of committee agenda item 12.1 be approved as presented. Councillor Heeman and Deputy Mayor Smybert. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. I don't believe there's any unfinished business that I'm aware of. No new business. Bylaws. A mover and a seconder that bylaws 9-2026 through 12-2026 be. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed you.
Sorry, I don't know if it's notice of motion or new business, and I don't think it's actionable at this meeting, but I just want to say that I do think that it's worth us having another discussion or a look at the CCTV and some of the sensitive areas. So not advancing business, but just saying, I think that might be something worth having conversations about and coming back to.
Are you making that like a direction staff or anything like that? No, just, okay. General comment to bring forward. All right, Jill, go ahead. Oh, you will follow up with him. Sorry, wrong track here. Okay, all right then. So that will be duly noted then in, yes, okay, all righty. So, going back to the bylaws then, a mover and a seconder that bylaws 9-2026 through 12-2026 be read a first, second, and third and final time and be adopted. Deputy Mayor Smybert and Councillor Lockie. All in favor?
In favor.
Okay, that carries. Thank you. Just the meeting schedule that's left is, next meeting of council will be Wednesday, February the 4th at 2026 at 5 p.m. as a special meeting, followed by Monday, February the 9th, also at 5, and then Monday, February the 23rd, also at 5, and as another special meeting on Thursday, February the 26th. And, oh, okay, right, that meeting will be held in the Lions Den at the Flight Exec Center. The committees, the upcoming meetings of committees, the Environmental Advisory Committee is Tuesday, February the 3rd, 2026 at 11:30 a.m. The Thames Center Sports Wall of Fame Committee on Wednesday, February the 11th, 2026 at 9 a.m. Thames Center Special Events Committee, Wednesday, February the 11th, 2026 at 12 noon. And the Economic Development Advisory Committee, Thursday, February the 26th, also at 9 a.m. Then the last item on the agenda is a mover and a seconder for an adjournment at the time of 7:13 p.m. Councillor Lockie and Councillor Crockett. All in favor?
In favor.
That carries. All right. Thanks, everyone.